Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Munir Al-Azouzi from easymedicaldevice.com. And today we will talk about UK. So we just had a big alert, if I can say, because as of July 1st, 2023, the UK is changing the rules. And we wanted to remind you that today to explain to you more about the situation in the UK after Brexit. I mean, we talk about the Brexit since a long time, but now we'll talk about again, some changes within the UK. And for that, I have with me Adam Rae, who is a QA area consultant and who will help us to understand the situation. So Adam, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Thanks, Munir. Big fan.
Great. So just maybe as an introduction, I mean, as a beginning, can you introduce yourself just to explain who you are so that people can have a better understanding of you?
Yeah, sure thing. So working in a QA in the medical device industry for the past 8 or 9 years now. I'm starting to get a bit older, which is strange. I'm almost at a decade of working now. I've worked in a variety of devices, so medical devices, in vitro diagnostics, as well as active implantable devices, in a kind of range of regions, covering MDSAP, EU, and then now obviously having to do a lot of work with some of the kind of turmoil that's been caused a little bit as a result of Brexit for some of manufacturers supplying in and out of. So worked on a variety of different industries, lots of stuff within risk management, 14971, also huge focus on supplier quality, general QMS stuff, but then also really moved into regulatory in the past few years as well, given that, the way quality management and regulatory integrate so much now, especially with having to have all these different types of regulations, all stemming from the one place.
Great. And where are you located? Just for the situation.
Everywhere. So I live in Chester. So my consultancy company is based out of the UK in Chester, and so we mostly operate within Europe and the UK, but we're looking to kind of move into.
Great. So a consultant in the UK to talk about the UK regulation, which is great then.
Yes. What better match?
Exactly. As a beginning, maybe for people that maybe have no understanding of the UK situation for now. So can we make a recall about UK Brexit, maybe when it happened officially, and then what's the situation in terms of timeline here?
Yeah, so it stemmed back from when the UK had obviously had a referendum to express, as there was quite a bit of interest expressed in departing from the European Union. That referendum was in 2016, and then as a result of that referendum, when the UK agreed to leave the European Union, obviously there's this huge, it's a huge exercise. It took around 4 years to get to the point of which a deal was agreed.
Yeah.
That deal essentially, agreed that on the 1st of January 2021, the UK would leave the EU. And as a result of that, that's where, lots of, as we know, our industry, the medical device industry, as well as other industries like data protection, other legislation and regulation has also significantly been affected by this. It kind of left that question of, well, how does regulation work? Given the change in landscape with, the directives moving from directives to regulation, the 1st of January was really when the UK officially left the EU formally, and that's when we started hearing about transition periods,
exactly,
of medical device regulations and what UK is going to do for that. That's kind of really where it came from for the context.
Great. And so in terms of this transition period, so how many time they give, if I can say, to the companies that are already in the market, like CE mark? So how many time they give them, if I can say, to transition to this?
Not much. Doesn't seem like much. It's a fairly complex regulated environment if you think of it as a manufacturer. So from the 1st of June, the end of June, 2023, medical, CE marking, as we know within the European Union, will no longer be recognised in the UK. As a result of that, the UK have created the UK conformity assessment. They are essentially the UK CE mark, which can be classed as essentially their equivalent. From there, that's really where we start to see the two regulations really start to differ. So right now, manufacturers are covered, but from the end of June 2023, CE marking is no longer recognised. From then. So really, if we start looking at when manufacturers need to do something, they only had a year and a half from 2.5 years, from the 1st of January 2021. Now it's like a year. Notified bodies it's not a approved bodies. It's not a fast process. So there's not a lot of time. But when you dig into it, like we're going to do today, a lot of organizations should realize it's maybe not quite as bad as what they seem on the surface, as what it seems on the surface. If you've got things in a good place, you should be okay.
Okay, so now, as I've said, we have some customers that are already, some companies that are already in the UK market, so they have already registered their products. You need a UK representative, and then the UK representative will register the products in the MHRA database. And if it's CE mark product, as we said, we still have a transition until June 2020, July 1st, 2023. But if now, let's say that we have only 1 year to July 2023, what should we do now? Should we wait July 2023 to think of now starting to transition to UKCA, or is it something that we should start already?
It's something that ideally should have been started already by now. Definitely something that needs to be started ASAP for an organisation, at least to consider it. We don't really know how things are going to evolve, to be honest, with the way things are moving. I wouldn't bank on there being any sort of extensions and stuff like that, and we can't rely on that. So for manufacturers that wish to continue to sell CE marked products within the UK, begin your plan to implement, conformity towards a UKCA. If you already have CE marking, it's a case of, doing your gap analysis, starting to really understand your current state, where you are, and obviously depending on what devices you're supplying and stuff like that. And then you need to consider, the appointment of a notified body and having that plan in place, because in theory, the way things are looking right now, as soon as that hard deadline is passed at the end of June, your products cannot be sold.
Exactly. And so we have, as I've said, some regulation that are also in place related to MDD, MDR, etc. in Europe. What's the situation in the UK? So which law is applicable as of now, if I can say? How can people, which documentation they need to have available so that they can pretend to go for UKCA marking and then be maybe safe for this market? Yeah.
So it's quite, I think it goes back to if we take this question back a little bit and say, should we have one, if you look at it from a quality system perspective, should there be one quality system for one for another kind of thing? They're all driven from the same system, essentially. That's definitely the one way to think about it. But the manufacturers should definitely delineate between the two, and obviously to have, they can stem from the same system, but essentially the requirements are essentially different. So if they wish to sell into UK, then it's the UK MDR is what they would need to be considering. Right now, they could use MDR and still be fine till the end of June 2023. But going forward, it's the UK MDR as they can be found on the UK government website, which is obviously, as we know, based predominantly upon the Medical Device Directive. Yeah. So from there, again, the Medical Device Directive is not very prescriptive in terms of technical documentation requirements and stuff like that. But generally, you would want to, obviously, you want to have your documentation to actually be able to apply to your UK approved body, of which there's only a few, and we'll get to that at some point, I'm sure. Your declaration of conformity, which I've got some more detail on as well, but that's very aligned to the EU declaration of conformity. Again, Medical Device Directive is the main driver for it. Technical documentation, you'd obviously the standard kind of stuff, general description of your product, design specifications, techniques used for design control. If it's going to be an ancillary device, you need to discuss the references and how that works and the relationships with other devices, any clinical and preclinical evaluation documentation, any labeling or draft labels that you propose to use would be what I'd consider to do. But because that list is not very prescriptive, manufacturers could use the documentation requirements as identified in Annex 2 of the MDR as the basis for it. So, with that kind of gives you a really, really clear kind of checklist of things to work through that just makes things a bit easier. In general, the MDR requirements go over and above the requirements of the UKCA, which is obviously just because it's based on directives. But, I'd heed the manufacturers a warning and say it's key that they are able to show compliance to the applicable regulation or legislation that they're trying to demonstrate to it, as opposed to just saying, oh, we're doing MDR, therefore we need, the UKCA. It's just very, very tread carefully with that approach.
Exactly. So the marking, so we have CE marking for Europe. We have UKCA marking, if I can say, for UK now. So is there some changes of the rule? Can I have all the marking in one label and it's fine, or how it's working this?
Yeah, so UKCA marking is quite, if we just break it down really simply, UKCA marking will not be recognised in the EU, not allowed. CE marking will not be allowed in the UK. In terms of the labelling requirements, the UKCA and the MDR requirements, the UK MDR requirements, make reference to designated standards, is what they've been called, which are essentially harmonised standards when we look at the EU MDR. They are very, very similar to the harmonised standards that we are kind of used to. So that's where when we really start to dive into this problem, Neil, we kind of see things aren't quite as scary as what they look like on the surface when you actually dive into this. So the designated standards that have been applied and deemed appropriate by the UK MDR still reference things such as ISO 15223.
Yeah.
So these harmonised standards that we know and have implemented previously, if you're a non-UK manufacturer in the EU wishing to sell in here, you can still leverage ISO 15223 as your basis for labelling and information to be supplied by the manufacturer. So labelling wise, literally the only thing that should be changing is your mark.
And in terms of other quality management system activities, like, for example, vigilance reporting, we have now the rules under MDD and MDR. Does it change anything for UK, or it's exactly the same rules, so I don't need to change anything?
Essentially, it's very similar to the way it was before. So vigilance is obviously treated, each country, vigilance has always kind of been a bit of an interesting kind of thing to navigate as a quality system, as a quality system manager, like trying to have that input between, all these different regulated jurisdictions. It's quite a complex thing. So they've always, in contrast to the way regulations have become, vigilance requirements have always been individual in different countries. In terms of the format, the deadlines, and the recipients of vigilance reports, they've always kind of been somewhat individual. So for the UK, process still remains essentially the same. The vigilance procedure needs to be unique to the UK. Just like if it's a FDA vigilance report you're submitting, it needs to be unique to the FDA. Unless you're using obviously MDSAP, but it still does need to use that. So it's essentially still runs through the MHRA, and there's still its own process and its individuality. Once the medical device is placed on the market in the UK, the manufacturer would be required to submit vigilance reports to the MHRA when certain incidents occur or when they potentially require reporting. And it's all to just go through the MHRA.
Yeah, so as a UK responsible person for some of our customers, we had to manage some vigilance reporting with the MHRA. There is this MORE database, if I remember. Can't remember the name, but there is DORS and MORE, so there is a lot of those. So we had to publish on the MORE database, and mainly what was great is that we placed the EU vigilance reporting MIR form there, and they picked all the information, they placed it in the right templates for the UK, which was great from our side. So they just filled one document, they placed everything because there was those kind of XML format or whatever, and then they were able to capture this information, which avoided me to write down everything one by one. So which was great for that. But I think it's great that there is some alignments, and I hope even with the new regulation that there will be some kind of alignments. In terms of the pain point, if I can say, related to this regulation. This is the same as what we have actually for EU, which is the numbers of approved bodies, not notified bodies, approved bodies. So we are complaining in Europe because we have like now 20, 30 notified bodies.
Yeah.
How many do we have in the UK?
Three.
Three.
It's the pool is low, Munir. It's a challenge. It's so currently three.
And there is some particularity for those three because it will get worse, if I can say.
So of the three, BSI, so it's BSI, SGS, and UL. BSI are approved or designated for MD, so medical devices, implantable devices, and and IVDs. SGS only medical devices and IVDs. UL only IVDs. So if you're implantable devices, it's BSI or no one at the moment. So it's challenging.
So if you have an active implantable medical device, you have no choice than to go with BSI. If you have a medical device, you can go or with BSI or with SGS. And if you have in vitro, you can go with all of them. So BSI, SGS, and UL. So it makes it more complex. And we have already some challenges. Because I have customers that goes to the UK. And they say to me that their notified body, which is one of those, says that they have no time, or the time is like 1 year or more to start to review their technical file or change things. But at that time it will be already the date will be passed. So what will be done? So I don't know if there is a plan B, if I can say, for the UK in terms of this transition period, because with 3 notified bodies and the changes of the regulation at the same time, and all the people that are trying now to sell in the UK. It will be really a big problem. We heard I heard that from BSI, but I don't know. There is also this kind of bridging procedure. So can we talk maybe more about that?
Yeah. So BSI are one of the few who are designated, obviously within the UK for able to issue UKCA and within the EU. So it's a really, really good place to be as a business. From that perspective, when you look at it, you're like, that's a really, really good position to be in. So BSI, while you are, if you have BSI as a notified body, you could essentially use the Netherlands region, which is where the headquarters are now, to give you your CE marking. That takes care of all of your, kind of jurisdiction for the EU, Northern Ireland. But then because they also have the designation to be able to do the UKCA mark, they're able to somewhat translate conformity between the two regulations requirements because they're designated to do both. It's within the UK MDR. There's, and when it talks about the MDR, IVD, and the active implantable devices, there's sections of those clauses, and we can get the detail for people after this, but it's like section 19, section 30, section 44, just off the top of my head, which essentially demonstrates traceability between MDR, IVDR, and the UK MDR. So what BSI can essentially do is say, right, you have CE marking with us, you want to go for UKCA, therefore we know that we don't need to look at these requirements, and you can kind of speed up and make that assessment process a bit easier for the manufacturers that wish to see it, or vice versa. It makes things a bit easier. So that's a really good position to be in if you have BSI as your notified body, or if you're BSI and you're in that unique position.
And I think SGS can be also in that case because they also have an office in Europe. UL, I don't see anything in Europe, but SGS have also an office in Europe. So I suppose, I don't know if they can also do the same thing.
Yeah, they could, yeah.
So if you are with those notified bodies, then it can be a chance for you because then it can help you to move quicker. But even that will not help you to shorten some timelines sometime because it's a question of resources. It's a question of people being available to do the assessments of your documentation. if they are not here, they are not here. So I mean, you can have a good location. If you don't have the resources, it will not work out.
And that's one of the obviously that is a lot of this is being rooted from a lot of these changes in the actual the way that there's the obviously, like you said, Munir, there's the change from actually the UK leaving the EU, which is like the kind of the regulatory environment has changed. However, obviously with the changes to the ND from the NDD to the MDR and IVDD to IVDR, so much more devices have just been brought into scope that even BSI, SGS, as big as those organizations are, they are struggling to find, first of all, the appropriate competency because of the number of the additional devices, such as we spoke before about cosmetic contact lenses, all these other devices that previously weren't in scope, that even BSI and SGS are, have to find the competency to be able to certify these organizations under that. So it's made the scope has kind of went from like almost the reverse of a pyramid like that to that, and the amount of bodies that can do it is also significantly reduced. So it's going to be super interesting to see how they do it, because there's going to be a lot of manufacturers that at the end of June 2023, I don't imagine will have been in the queue to be visited by a UK approved body.
No, I think, and as I've said, I already have some customers that are struggling. They are asking now, and they say, no, we cannot within the next year, which is a big problem for them. So I don't know if there is a plan B or there is maybe a new thing that will be done by the UK, but this is mainly a situation that will also happen to EU MDR and end of 2024. Because this is also the date where MDD is stopping and then MDR should be booked. So everybody will have to rush before this date also for being MDR certified. So this is the same for UK now. Okay, so we talked a lot about UK, but there is a small piece of UK, if I can say, that creates some more struggle or more problem. So it's Northern Ireland. So we have within Northern Ireland what we call the Northern Ireland Protocol, which makes this land different than the rest. So can we talk more about that and try to understand exactly how this is working?
Yeah, sure thing. So the Northern Ireland protocols, again, as a quality and regulatory guy, super interesting just to see the way it's kind of evolved. So I think, again, it seems very complex in the outset, but if we really break it down to its absolute core, what the Northern Ireland Protocol essentially says is that MDR, IVDR, EU versions are applied within Northern Ireland. UK MDR does not apply within Northern Ireland, essentially is the crux of it. So if you're a EU manufacturer, you have products placed on the market that are in Northern Ireland, the timeline doesn't need to worry you. Essentially, you can continue to sell your products. You've got CE marking, your devices are on the market, everything's cool. The only complexity that's somewhat been added is for UK manufacturers wishing to place devices on the market within Northern Ireland. That's kind of where you start getting into a bit of complications with regards to responsible persons or authorised representatives. But like I said, if you're an EU manufacturer, you already have an authorised representatives, you're fine to continue sale post June 2023. It's not, nothing really changes for you. Essentially, it's just part of that regulatory framework as well in itself. If you are a UK manufacturer wishing to go in there, then you need to essentially get CE marking to do that. For that, so you need to be audited by a designated body that can provide you CE marking. You need to have an authorized, depending on the classification of your device, Munir, you need to have an authorized person or representative to do that. Either within the EU or within Northern Ireland. Again, very similar to if you're trying to gain entry just into a normal, a kind of other location within the EU. So if we just treat it exactly like that. And then there's this additional complication of that there is the talk right now, while none have been, none are approved to do so, that UK bodies UK approved bodies could be authorised to provide CE marking to Northern Ireland, and then that would require the labelling of a CE mark plus a UK NI mark, which basically the aim behind that mark, Munir, as opposed to just a CE mark, is that shows that the device has been certified by a UK notified body, is what they're calling them, but that's essentially a UK approved body that's been given designation to do that.
So UK, so as we said, we have a need of an authorized representative. If you have a company that is located in Northern Ireland, it can be an authorized representative for the UK market and for the European market. So it can be a EU authorized representative because it's in Northern Ireland and European is considered there. And it can be a UK responsible person because they are also located in the UK region. So if I can say, if you have your office there, it's good because you can serve customers in those two countries. But it is what it is. What we know is that also there are maybe some changes that can come. This is still in the air. There are some changes that are coming, etc. So we are in a transition period. So at the end, things can happen. So until it happens, I mean, we already know that, as I said, in July, we have the new regulation that is coming. Not the new regulation, the new timeline, but as UK has also made a consultation for their new regulation in November, maybe by that time, the new regulation will be also coming. So then you'll have to apply the new regulation, which is more apparently aligned to EU MDR than not MDD, but MDR is not approved now in the UK, etc., etc. So it's like, I mean, when I say it like that, it makes like confusion, but no, it's clear. I mean, it's clear in the head of a lot of people. But we can understand that some people are confused about all this situation because. So if you don't go to Northern Ireland, it's great. If you go to Northern Ireland, rules and between UK and Northern Ireland are changing. But it's something that you can maybe discuss. So is there anything else that we can say about the situation here?
Just to maybe add a bit of clarity towards the CE combined with the UK NI mark with that. So that mark would not be recognised to be sold within the EU. So if you're a manufacturer within Northern Ireland, the CE UK NI mark is only valid in Northern Ireland.
So you have to have two labels, one for the Northern Ireland, one for Europe. Is it the same for UK? Can you have UKCA in Europe and also in UK? I mean, UKCA and CE in Europe together.
You would have UK. So if you're Northern Ireland and you're wishing to sell into the UK, UKCA mark. If you're Northern Ireland and you're wishing to sell into Europe, it's only CE.
And if you are European and you want to sell to UK, do you need both? Can you have both CE and UKCA, or should you have only UKCA? Or how is it?
You can have both, but the CE mark wouldn't be recognised.
Exactly. It's just a question. It's just a question of labeling because people have also this logistic part to say. Should I create a specific label for UK, a specific one for Northern Ireland, a specific one for Europe, etc.? And they prefer to have one label with everything. So we understand now.
I would recommend, I think that's kind of where it would help. I'm a visual guy, and I think we both are of it. Flow charts and stuff like that. I think if as the manufacturer, as a legal manufacturer, this can all be driven out of the one quality system, but given the consultations coming out, and it's just came out obviously for, improving the new UK MDR and stuff like that, it is worth the manufacturer just treating these completely different. So what, like labeling, you can still leverage the harmonized and designated standards and stuff like that. So the consistency can be there. However, I would really recommend essentially just slicing them from one another, and just because it just adds for clarity, it makes the management of it much easier. So for the labeling, obviously the affixing of the devices has to be of the UKCA and CE is different, and the UK NI. So for that purpose, it would essentially be, you can still have it routing from one procedure. Yeah, you could have a labeling procedure, but out of that, you would have to say your little decision tree to say what's the regulated jurisdiction? UK, see this work instruction. EU, see this work instruction, and just have it written from there.
Exactly. I mean, it will be creating more complexity for management of stock, but it's the safer part where you can then sell these products only in the UK, this one only in Northern Ireland, this one only in Europe, which makes it easier in terms of not making a mistake and sending products that are maybe not compliant. But at the end, I know that because I had to deal with that also. I know that in terms of logistic, the logistic manager will not accept that. He will say, try to push back. No, I want only one label for everybody. That it's safe for me. I have one stock for everyone, etc. So I know that, but it can be difficult. So nothing to say here. Okay, Adam. So I think we covered most of the part that we wanted to discuss today. Just maybe, I think when we talked, you said that you have prepared something that maybe I can share with people.
Yeah, so we've got, essentially I've kind of built like a little PDF that kind of covers everything we've just discussed there, which kind of has some hyperlinks out to some of the stuff that I've kind of referred to in here, because that we didn't want to dive too much into detail and talk about section 19.5 of this,
exactly.
So this little PDF has some of the detail in it. It also has the high level overview of everyone, of essentially the narrative of this, but also has some links which people can use to access some really useful information if you want.
Great. I will put that on the show notes as a hyperlink. So please go on the show notes and download that. And I will put also all your details. The details in terms of LinkedIn profile and elements where people can follow up with you. So as you are a consultant, so maybe why people should contact you?
If they like me. No. So I think mostly the nature of the type of work that I've undertaken is kind of, a lot of it's been kind of knee deep in the middle of this remediation and dealing with very complex environments. And the way, dealing with lots of different regulations. But I think it's mostly because I look at things quite simply.
Yeah.
And I'm a simple guy. I like a simple life. I will always try and simplify things as much as I can. And, coming from a background of, I don't know if you remember this, Munir, but when I began working in the medical device industry, I was like so overwhelmed by everything. Okay. So I remember, and I know what it's like to be on the other side. So I will always try and make sure that when I'm working with clients or, whoever I'm working with, that we're always trying to break it down to its fundamental requirements, keep it simple, and just, kind of make sure we're doing the right thing when no one's looking, first of all.
Exactly. Integrity.
But we're also thinking about performance, safety for the devices, but also organizational performance and how we actually do things. Because like you said, I'm with the logistics manager. Yeah. I would love one label, but it just it essentially depends on what's the cost benefit analysis, So I think if they like simplicity, then that's where I think I can work with people.
Great. No, great. So don't hesitate to contact Adam Rae. So if you have any questions also to what we discussed today, to the document that is presented, I'm sure he will be helping you a lot. Okay, so thank you for your time, Adam. It was really a pleasure to have you and with all those details. I'm sure maybe I will have you back to a new update of this UK regulation because this will happen. But the message of today is mainly that you have 1 year for UKCA. So rush now. I mean, you should have rushed already before. I mean, I tried to also alert before, but don't be surprised if in 6 months, 7 months, you have nobody that can help you because everybody will be already working with a lot of other manufacturers or notified bodies not able to help because there are only 3. I mean, 2 if you are only medical devices. So this is maybe the message, if I can say, of this for this podcast. So I hope all what we mentioned today helped you to understand the situation, to know exactly what to do, and to know also the situation for the Northern Ireland region. Okay, Adam. So it was really a pleasure. Thank you very much, and I wish you a nice day.
Thank you, mate.
Bye.
Cheers, bye.